Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Things are getting heated at Google. Calls are growing for Sundar Pichai to be sacked or for him to resign.
It seems that Google's ambitious quest for AI dominance might cost Pichai his job.
And understandably so. The company has been through so many controversies recently that it's hard to even list them all out. From excluding white people in its AI generation programs, or refusing to say whether Elon Musk tweeting memes or the big bad German guy are worse for humanity. In addition to that, the company is facing numerous antitrust trials as usual, and has also recently got some heat for firing its teams that decided to unionize.
So to be supported by the city of Austin and also our allies in the labor community, give us the motivation to keep this fight going.
Not to interrupt, but they just laid us all off.
Oh.
Yeah, they just laid us all off.
We just all
Our jobs are ended today, effective immediately.
So is it really over for Sundar Pichai? Has he done all that he can? And would the stock go up or down if he were fired? Today, let's discuss Sundar Pichai's performance at Google and whether, as a big stockholder in the company, I think he should get the sack. The calls for Sundar to resign are nothing new, as the company has matured into a slow-moving bureaucracy from a fast-moving, nimble startup type of vibe when he first started. But how has he actually performed compared to other big tech CEOs over this time period? If you take Google's stock price in isolation, then he's done an amazing job, with the stock price up over 400% since he started in 2015. But when you actually compare the performance to other big tech companies since that time period, like Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and Meta, he's actually underperformed all of them. And this underperformance is especially marked in the last 5 years. But the stock has comfortably outperformed the S&P 500, so shareholders should be happy, right? Well, not necessarily. In my opinion, a huge amount of the outperformance of Google stock has been due to the massive moat and undisruptibility of Google search, rather than the actual personal leadership qualities of Sundar Pichai himself. Meanwhile, Sundar Pichai is paid significantly more than other big tech CEOs. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't even take a salary, for example, and Tim Cook and Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, take around 50 million in stock compensation and cash per year, whereas Sundar takes home over $200 million per year. What justifies him being paid so much more than other tech CEOs? This XX pay for underperformance compared to other big tech companies is pretty endemic within the company. The company pays more for software developers and staff than other big tech companies like Microsoft and Apple, and also has an uncontrollable stock-based compensation problem where it can't keep its stock-based compensation down, and it eats into its free cash flow massively year after year. The company is also massively bloated, having hired too many employees, and despite cutting them, it still keeps hiring more, and it means that the total employee count doesn't go down, even as Sundar Pichai attempts to have a year of efficiency similar to the 2023 year of efficiency for Meta. Back in 2021, you can see some of the seeds of the current controversy already starting to creep in. 15 Google executives, many of whom worked with Sundar Pichai on a regular basis, wrote to the New York Times accusing him of being extremely slow at decision making and often just taking a long time to make a decision and then just saying no. He also was accused of being really bad at handling the company's culture wars and in general, just a bad CEO. One example they used of Sundar's poor and ponderous decision-making skills was a few years ago, Google had the opportunity to buy Shopify and really challenge Amazon for being the main digital marketplace of the internet, but it refused to do so. Sundar decided that Shopify was too expensive at the time. Bear in mind that the stock has over 10x'd since then, and it is really starting to be a serious legitimate rival to Amazon. It could have been a Google property. These slow decision-making skills are especially evident now, and they've really come back to haunt Google in the form of AI. Google's dominance of AI was meant to be near total. OpenAI was actually formed as a counter-response to DeepMind's dominance of the AI field, which Google has owned for over a decade. But it wasn't Google and DeepMind who were the first to release a popular AI product. Of course, it was Microsoft and OpenAI with ChatGPT. Google was almost forced or rushed into releasing its own AI products with Gemini and Bard and so on. And in rushing, they produced so many mistakes that undermined investors and users' confidence in Google's products. Many comparisons have been drawn aptly with the period at Microsoft under the leadership of Steve Ballmer. Under Steve Ballmer, Microsoft had grown happy as the big bad wolf on the tech block. It had almost dominance in home computers and the PC market, and it really wasn't fearing any threat from other tech rivals. And that led it to slip up, and Apple released the iPhone, which completely changed the industry entirely. People stopped using PCs as much and started using their mobiles and smartphone as a computer. In missing this, Steve Ballmer actually first heard of the iPhone and laughed at it, thinking that it was pointless.
What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
When later Microsoft released their answer to the iPhone a couple of years later, releasing adverts where there was a funeral for the iPhone, the Windows Phone, that absolutely flopped. And that's what led to the end of the Steve Ballmer period, with Satya Nadella picking up. I can see the exact same thing starting to happen at Google now, where it's grown so happy with the cash that it's producing from the search business that it's happy and content to leave Sundar Pichai as CEO, doing nothing and being a terrible manager of the company. Google is not in as bad of a place as Microsoft was back then. After all, the company is still growing its revenue year after year. The search engine dominance or market share has still not gone down by very much at all. And the company has the massive bright spots of Google Cloud and YouTube to hope for in the future for their revenue growing potential. But if some action isn't taken soon, there's definitely going to be a slide of the company into that same kind of a position. But it's not just key decision making that Sundar has pontificated and delayed to the point of failure on. It's also addressing company culture. Company culture is something that the company CEO should be setting an example on and leading from the front. But he has obviously completely failed in this arena, and the company has significantly gone towards the left in a negative way, in my opinion, over the last few years. For example, back in 2016, after Donald Trump's election win, a number of Google executives were filmed recording their reactions of dismay and sadness at Donald Trump winning the election. And the response was enough that Google was willing to go online and post that these were individual reactions, they're not the belief of the company, and that the company was politically neutral. Even though tech workers in general lean left, I do think this is the correct position to make. You should be thinking about your customers, not your employees, when it comes to products and decision making. The culmination of the company culture was Gemini AI image generation. The company was basically forced into a humiliating come down after its image generator refused to put white people in any of its images. That's a culture where everyone knew this was the case, but nobody thought to bring it up due to fear of being fired. That's not a healthy culture at all. And Google should not be in a position where it thinks it should dictate a healthy or a moral type of image or content to a user. It should just create for the user what they've asked for. The company has grown so fat off its search monopoly that it thinks it can tell users what they want rather than giving users what they want. It was the same under the Microsoft monopoly, where they thought they could easily defeat the iPhone. It's not even just the image generation that Google has taken down, but also the text generation that is very politically left-leaning. Now, Sundar Pichai was renowned and partially chosen for his role for being relatively mild-mannered and being someone that tries to get everyone to work together. But in this case, you really need someone who takes the lead and makes a firm decision when it comes to company culture. For example, Reed Hastings at Netflix, when many of his employees protested at Dave Chappelle comedies being on Netflix, he basically said, if you don't like it, leave the company. You're free to have your own politics, but don't bring it into the company that you work for, as we are trying to produce something for a customer of many different political beliefs. That's an attitude I really agree with, and I've criticized Disney for politicizing their content in the past. I think that Google is worthy of the exact same criticism. When Satya Nadella took over from Steve Ballmer, he did the impossible. Microsoft's culture was in the doldrums, with it having failure after failure, but Satya managed to do such a drastic shift that the company shot up once again to a world leader, not only prestige-wise, but stock price and technology-wise. The company is now a world leader in AI as well as cloud, despite coming from basically nothing. In my opinion, Google is in need of the exact same type of impetus from a strong CEO, and that man is not. I believe that the board should fire him with immediate effect.
The board expects your resignation in 30 days. But you can't do this to me.
Because he's not the right fit for the job, and he doesn't have the fire in his belly required to turn Google from being a bureaucratic mess into a startup type culture once again. But the culture that he has created at Google of bureaucracy is going to mean that it's an obstacle to getting rid of him. Now, Google is the second largest position in my individual stock portfolio, and I am still going to be holding on to it, as I do believe that the moat of the company is so good and YouTube and cloud represent such good opportunities in the future. But I do think that the company could be so much better than what it is now. It does have a risk of losing its position, but I personally think that it will keep it for now at least. So I'll be holding my Google stock. Let me know what you guys think about Google and Sundar Pichai in the comments below. Leave me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.